The meeting will now come to order. Let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mrs. Allman, would you please call the roll? Here.
Director Emick.
Here.
Director Hogan.
Here.
Director Kindig.
Here.
Director McKinney.
Present.
Director Meese. Here. Director Miller. Here. Director Whitmer. Here. Director Wolverton.
Here.
9 present.
Thank you, Mrs. Allman. I want to welcome everyone here to our Board of Directors meeting for the month of June, and welcome the members of the public here as well. Our first, well, let me just clear a little bit of housekeeping. As you heard, Director Hogan is in attendance tonight. He's attending electronically as permitted by our policy, so he is on the phone. It's in the microphone. There will be times when you'll hear him speak up, and we'll recognize him when he does that. This takes us to our first public comment period. The board uses the public comment period as an opportunity to listen, but not to debate issues or enter into a question and answer session with the speaker. Public comment must be germane to school district business. The board values civil, respectful statements and clear and concise communication that help to inform its deliberation. Is anyone seeking to make public comment? When you approach the mic, you'll have 3 minutes. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to speak. Please state your name and your address. If you don't want to state your address and you've already signed in, just state that I've already signed in with the address.
I've already signed in. My name is Cam Richardson.
Cam Richardson?
Yes.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
I'm the pastor of Dover United Church of Christ, but I come before you not only as a pastor, but a licensed professional counselor, very concerned about the school policies you are seriously considering implementing regarding LGBTQ+ students. Working in the mental health field for 23 years, I've worked with many LGBTQ+ youth and adults who struggle with depression and anxiety due to verbal and physical trauma they've experienced. The Trevor Project is a national organization dedicated to the well-being of these youth. Each year they publish the results of a survey undertaken with around 18,000 of these youth across the United States regarding many different factors. Primary among the findings this year are concerns related to their mental health well-being and the factors that either positively or negatively contribute to it. 39% of these youth reported seriously considering suicide within the previous year. More than 1 in 10 of these youth actually reported attempting suicide. And let's be very clear, the mental health concerns reported are not due to the youth's gender identity, but directly related to negative treatment of them at the hands of others. A whopping 90% of these youth reported that their well-being was negatively impacted due to recent politics and hateful rhetoric. 90%. These rates are sure signs that something major is wrong. Here are 2 things that positively impact the mental health of LGBTQ+ youth. First, acceptance and proper usage of their identified pronouns. Acceptance is something that every single one of us needs, and for those in the LGBTQ+ community, acceptance can mean life or death. The second factor that helps support positive mental health and wellness for these youth is connectedness to a gender-affirming school environment. By that, I mean that school is a place where they feel supported and connected to peers and to teachers and staff. A 2021 CDC study, which included students from grades 9 through 12, confirmed that school connectedness has been linked with positive educational, behavioral, and health outcomes in adolescence. As school board members, your responsibility for the creation of such a positive environment includes each and every student under your care. No student should be marginalized for any reason. The implementation of school policies targeting LGBTQ+ youth is not just careless, it is dangerous. In the Trevor Project poll, 49% of LGBTQ+ youth reported being bullied in the previous year. If you put these harmful policies into effect, you are essentially engaging in bullying them yourselves and creating a permission-giving environment for increased bullying against these youth. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kara Hetrick. At the board meeting on May 14th, Mr. Conley, you stated that it is the board's prerogative to engage with local officials. During your remarks, you referenced Board Policy 011, which states that the board should advocate to promote public education as the keystone of our Commonwealth. It is interesting that you referenced this particular policy when defending your secret warehouse meetings with the PA Economic Growth PAC, because this PAC does not champion public education. They frequently malign public schools and state that they are failing. They advocate for cyber charter funding, which we know costs our district millions of dollars every year. This PAC is anti-public education and is not an ally to Dover. Of course, your involvement with them is going to be questioned, especially when you have yet to disclose any details. What we do know about these secret meetings comes directly from the PAC itself. PAC representative Veronica Gemma said in a recent interview that she is training school board members on how to govern and how to enforce their authority over the superintendent, solicitor, and staff. She also said in that interview a lot of other concerning comments like elementary classrooms are brainwashing children and separating them from their parents. These are not the words of someone who is an advocate for public schools. You say you're engaging with the public in roundtable discussions when you attend these meetings. Veronica Gemma says she is training you. Which one is it? I'd also like to address the statements made by the board on May 21st. A comment was made that being LGBTQ is a bad choice like vaping. Not only was this comment reckless, it also insinuated that by approving these ILC policies, you'll be saving children. Neither of these policies will save any children. Let's be clear about that. These policies are a political stunt. You have allowed the ILC to bamboozle you. How many trans athletes do we have in Dover? I'll tell you, 0. 0. Thanks to the ILC, the Central Bucks School District has paid out $1.75 million so far, and Pentridge School District is in the middle of a federal civil rights lawsuit. Has this board asked our district solicitor for his recommendations regarding these policies? As a taxpayer, I would love to hear his opinion about our chances of being sued. You have the votes. You're going to do what your pastor wants you to do. But don't for 1 second think that these policies are saving any children. By approving them, you are targeting our most vulnerable students. These policies promote prejudice and discrimination, which do not represent the values of this district.
Thank you, Ms. Hetrick.
I signed in, Sterling Walsh.
Go ahead.
First of all, I'd like to say that I really believe that everyone in this room is concerned for the care of the students in our district. I believe that everybody wouldn't be here if that wasn't the case. I would like to say, just going to give a little bit of a example here. My 4-year-old son comes to me and he says, "Dad, I want to mow the lawn." And I'm going to say, "Son, you can't drive the tractor and mow the lawn." He said, "Well, Dad, I want to mow the lawn." "I'm sorry, son, I'm not going to let you mow the lawn, but I want to mow the lawn. I know I can do it." "Son, I'm not going to let you mow the lawn." "Dad, I hate you." 12-year-old son comes to me and he says, "Dad, I'll go down to the hardware store. Can you give me the keys to the car?" "Son, I'm not going to give you the keys to the car. But I know I can do it. I've watched you drive many times. I really feel like I can do this." "So I'm not going to give you the keys to the car." "Well, Dad, why not? Don't you love me? Don't you trust me?" "I trust you as much as I trust any other 12-year-old. I hate you. 16-year-old son comes to me and says, "Dad, I think I'm supposed to be a girl." "Really?" "I just feel like I'm supposed to be a girl, and I want to begin to transition." "Well, son, when you turn 18, I can't stop you, but I'm not sure that's a wise thing to do. But I really feel that's what I'm supposed to do." "Well, son, don't you realize if you start these medications, you're going to be on them for the rest of your life, and they cause all kinds of issues with the heart and other portions of the body. But I really want to do it. I really believe. Don't you love me?" "Well, son, I do love you. But I don't really think we should start down this track because it could lead to a lot of things, and I don't want you to be hurt. I hate you." Now, the fact is, if there's someone in the school system, whether it be a teacher, administrator, this board, who encourages children to go through this process without the parents' permission, they should be sued. In fact, there are lawsuits going on already now because of school districts who went behind the backs of the parents and encouraged these things. I know you're stuck between two here. This is a difficult thing. But I think we better be careful because, listen, once they start that, if they go into the process of actually changing the hormones, changing them physically, they're neither a male or a female. It doesn't work. Nothing of it works, and they can't even enjoy a physical relationship. You ruin it if they go through into the surgery. I respectfully give you my comment.
Thank you, Pastor Walsh.
Forrest Calhoun, I've already signed in. Good evening, Dover School Board members. My name is Forrest Calhoun, and I use he, him pronouns. Today we'll be talking about the new policy about names and pronouns. I'm an up-and-coming sophomore, so this policy will affect me. Why is someone going by a different nickname?
Excuse me just a second. Our policy says you must be age 18 to speak alone. Do you have a parent with you?
That is
Okay.
here.
If you'll stand with it, please.
Um,
Yeah, can we reset the clock? Okay, Forrest, you can continue.
Okay. I'm here to talk about the new policy about names and pronouns. I'm an up-and-coming sophomore, so this policy will affect me. Why is someone going by a different nickname okay, but not a different name? Why is a teacher's last name change okay, but not the change of a student? Change of pronouns for a student. All of these are simply respect to a person. Unless you think a student that doesn't fit what your standards are of what is normal doesn't deserve the same respect as any other person, it simply helps the student be more comfortable if they're called by their preferred name and pronouns. I'd also like to note that at the meeting my sibling, Phoenix, spoke at, it is noted in the York Dispatch article that board members Mies said, quote, "Why would we encourage children to make choices that would lead them down the path?" when talking about suicide rates. Let me make one thing very clear. Being transgender is not what is making these kids suicidal. Mistreatment for being transgender is what's making kids suicidal. Another thing with transgender people, as far as I'm aware, we don't have any trans students in sports at Dover, so it feels like you're just creating an issue. On top of that, if there were a trans person in the sport, that should be a case-by-case basis. You shouldn't ban a whole group of people from participating in a school activity, especially not one as beneficial as sports. And letting a student use their preferred name and pronouns isn't the same as letting them go through hormone changes, which you can't usually do until you are at least 18 years of age. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Forrest. Anyone else?
Nana Wirtz, and I've signed in. In 2001, I changed my pronoun. No one has any problem with me changing my pronoun. I have been known by Nana throughout the school system, through all of you guys. You all call me Nana. It's just a name. These kids, that's all they want. They believe that they may be male or female. They're not asking for you to approve hormones because you can't. They're not asking you to approve gender specifics because you can't. Their parents can. So yes, a parent should be involved in it. I have no problem with that. But I don't think that this board at this time should say, no, we will not allow it at all in the Dover School District. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Warrens. Anyone else? Okay, the public comment period is closed. All right, the announcement of executive sessions. We held an executive session on June 13 to discuss both legal issues and personnel issues. We held another executive session tonight prior to this meeting to discuss legal issues. That brings us up to the next section on our agenda, which is a consent agenda for human resources. Since we did not have a planning meeting, if there are particulars that of this consent agenda that any of the board members would like to pull out, we can certainly do that. Hearing none, are there any discussion concerning the consent agenda for human resources?
I had a question about 4.07. The teacher mentioned, I believe, has transferred. Is that correct?
Yes, she took another job.
Okay, so that one is not part of the agenda anymore, right?
We still grant her tenure because she earned it here.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, thanks.
Okay,
Okay.
excellent. Good question, thank you. Any other questions, comments? Is there a motion to approve consent agenda 4.01?
So moved.
Director Emig moves. Is there a second?
Director Meese, second.
Director Meese seconds the motion. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, Mrs. Almond, please call the vote. While you're doing that, let me just do a verbal check-in with Mr. Hogan. Director Hogan, are you able to see the vote on your screen?
I do not see it. Yes, I see it now.
Oh, very good, very good.
Nine yes.
And the motion carries. All right, the next section is contracts and agreements, section number 5. We'll take each one of these separately. Agenda item 5.01, the PSBA membership renewal. Are there any questions or discussion?
Are we going with what the district's recommended as far as the, or about the district administration recommended?
So we have options here. There's 3 different packages on here, and there's also in the, what's attached there is a membership level comparison. It will be up to the board to entertain a motion as to which option you would recommend. We would deliberate that before we voted on it.
President Connolly, I have a handout that might be helpful.
Okay?
Can I
Yes.
take one and pass it down?
Very good.
I should have given it to you guys earlier. Okay. I know it can be confusing because there's so many different things that are offered with the membership, so I printed this and hand wrote on it to try to make it a little bit more clear as to what was being offered and what we've used in the past. So if you look at the first column, the green column, at the very bottom, the total is $17,037.48. And that includes all of those items. In my handwriting next to it, I got clarification on what some of those are. For example, Career Getaway, the first item is job postings. So we can post our jobs on the PSBA Career Getaway website. We all get the mailed magazine. That's the second one. And so I'm not going to go down through all of these, but I will jump down a little bit further to the countdown. Those are the weekly 3-minute videos that we get on Mondays. It's like a 3-minute video with PSBA employees talking about updates and so forth. I don't know if you guys watch those. I didn't know about this, but there's outreach office hours 2 times a week where we can log in and have live chats with PSBA employees to help us with any questions. There's also a secretary exchange at one time a month. There's also, if you look down further, a board assessment. This I thought was was pretty cool. Personally, I've never used it since we've been on the board. We've never used it since I've been on the board, but that's a one-time per year electronic and in-person assessment that PSBA sends somebody to do like a board assessment, which is usually good if like 6 months into a new board. And then down at the very bottom, there's some conferences there. The school board secretary conferences, we had 2 that went last year. So hopefully that can explain some of the things that they provide for that price. Then if you hop on over to the standard column and look down at the bottom, that one's about $4,400 less expensive, but then it takes out some of those items. The Pennsylvania School Safety Institute, I think, would be an interesting thing to do, but thank you. Mr. Perkins had emailed us and with reasons why we don't use that, because we have all of those certifications, people that can teach those classes and so forth within our district, so we really don't have to take advantage of that. Policy maintenance program, some of the online learning I've taken advantage of. I know Director Miller has done some as well, so we would lose access to that. I really don't have a recommendation either way, honestly. I think that there's a lot of these things that we could take advantage of, but we don't, probably because there was just some lack of knowledge there. So if we do pay the $17,000, can we get, some ROI on it? I think if, we kind of hold each other accountable to taking advantage of some of the trainings and whatnot. I know we all put a significant amount of time into this position as it stands, so we would have to really kind of make a personal goal to take advantage of some of these things.
So I have a question for you, Director Meese.
Yes.
The administrative regulation service options, there's a 15% discount here, and we do take advantage of a portion of that, not the full manual, but we take I think Dr. Cartwright put it that we accept the input, but they don't send us the full manual, so we get the changes. Dr. Cartwright, could you please correct me if I misspoke?
We get the updates, yes, and new ARs.
So is that extra fee at the 15% discount, is that accounted for in the $16,000?
So the $905.25 is what pays for, is that correct, Dr. Cartwright? The $900 that we pay covers those, us being able to get the regulations?
The updates, yes.
Yes. So I don't know the answer to your question, but what I'm thinking is we pay the flat $905 and we get those updates.
The whole manual would be several thousand.
Okay, so the 25% wouldn't apply in that case. We wouldn't be taking advantage of that because we're paying in full for that option.
So as far as, everything in the checks here, we get as part of that. The ones at the bottom show the discount are things that we're paying extra for.
Yes,
The only thing we're paying
correct.
extra for now is the administrative updates, administrative regulation updates.
Yes, that's
So-
correct.
So looking at the right column, we would have to add, if we were going to retain that, and I am making the assumption that the district uses that, so we would have to add $905.25 plus the 15% discount, which, whatever that works out to the $12,600.
Right, which if we add those items a la carte, some of those items that we want, we'd end up paying more.
So
Then
that,
17.
So that brings us up to probably around 13.5 plus whatever that 15% works out to. So that's another $150 roughly.
Yes,
So
that makes sense,
That makes
yeah.
our difference only about $3,500. I'm sorry, $2,500. Is that right? Is my,
Yeah, I
No,
think you're on the right path there. And then we would also lose our single day, the training events and the online learning. So if we were to have to pay for those separately as well, like if we see something that kind of piques our interest and we want to learn more about, we would have to pay for those individually as well.
which means we probably wouldn't use it. We wouldn't.
Probably
Yeah.
wouldn't use it, yes.
Okay.
Good point.
I mean, for me, it seems like we're not talking about a lot of money, but we have been very critical on budgetary items. So we're looking at probably a $3,500 difference minus a little bit of change there.
Would policy maintenance be something that would be important? I'm not sure what that totally means, policy maintenance, but PSBA is checking to make sure that the policies are up to date. Can you help us with that, Dr. Cartwright?
PSBA sends us updated policies and brand-new policies, and if we had to write those ourselves, we would be paying an attorney to review them. They have a team of experts who do all that for us for this rate.
So since we just did an overhaul of all of our policies, is that something that we don't necessarily need to do for the next year if we don't renew the membership this year and then look at it again next year? Is that an option? Are we safe to not update policies for a year?
It is not. If we
Not good.
don't have a membership, we cannot use their copyrighted policies, and they will sue the district if we do.
Even though we've implemented them when we had a membership, so we'd have to,
We have to use our own policies.
wow.
It's like a Chinese
They
yo-yo.
kind of lock us in then, don't they? Wow. And that, you said, is just that portion to be able to continue to use those policies that we've based our policies off of is 3,500? I mean,
It's included in the all-access package, and it's $15.25 in the standard membership.
what if we don't do any membership and we just want that? Is that an option, do you know? If we don't get a PSBA membership, but we do want the policies?
If they allow individual items from the standard membership, yes, but I don't think it's ever been asked.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you, for me, the billable hours on writing policy, that would eat up any savings we try to create by the 30, trying to save the $3,500. So is there a motion to approve renewal of the membership at the current all-access rate with the addition of the administrative regulation updates?
I make the motion, we approve the $17,000.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. So Director Emig moves, Director Kindig seconds the motion. Is there any discussion?
I just feel if we do buy the all-access package, we should make a concerted effort to use as much of it as we can, take advantage of it.
Understood.
Yeah.
I'll help, I'll take accountability for that in making sure everybody knows, and sending emails out, hey, you might want to, log in and take this training, or I can schedule stuff and.
Okay. Thank you, Director Meese. Any other discussion? Hearing none, Mrs. Almond, please call the vote.
Seven yes, 2 no.
And the motion carries. Agenda item 5.02, the independent contractor agreement with Billings Bilingual LLC. Are there any questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Director Emig moves. Is there a second?
Second?
Director Miller seconds the motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Mrs. Almond, please call the vote.
9 yes.
And the motion carries. Next item on the agenda is 5.03, independent contractor agreement with Kara Molesevich, Psychoeducational Evaluations and Translations LLC. Copy of the agreement is attached. Are there any questions? Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve.
All right. Director Kindig moves. Is there a second?
Director Meese, second.
Director Meese seconds the motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Mrs. Allman, please call the vote.
Nine yes.
And the motion carries. Next agenda item is 5.04, New Story School Service Agreement. Copy of the agreement is attached. Are there any questions?
I just want to say thank you for the special education placement. That sheet was very those sheets were very helpful. So I'm not sure who did those, but thank you for those placement explanation. That was very helpful.
Dr. Geyer did that.
Also, thanks.
Any other questions, comments? Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve item 5.04, New Story Schools Agreement.
Director McKinney moves. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Dr. Miller seconds the motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Mrs. Allman, please call the vote.
Nine yes.
And the motion carries. Agenda item 5.05, agreement with Specialized Education of Pennsylvania, SESI, at High Road School of York. Copy of the guaranteed slot agreement is attached, as well as an explanation sheet. Are there any questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
I make that motion.
Director Emig moves. Is there a second?
Director Meese, second.
Is there any discussion? Mrs. Allman, please call the vote.
Nine yes.
And the motion carries. Agenda item 5.06, the Western Governors University Affiliation Agreement for Student Teaching. There's a copy of the agreement attached. Are there any questions, comments? Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve 5.06, Western Governors University Agreement for Student Teaching.
Director McKinney moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Director Emig seconds the motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Mrs. Allman, please call the vote.
9 yes.
And the motion carries. Agenda item 5.07, memorandum of understanding with Northern York County Regional Police Department, 3-year agreement. Are there any questions?
So it appears this is for compliance with the Safe School Act. It's totally separate from the SRO agreements. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
And for the public, this is a 14-page agreement. Be accessible as long as it is up on the website.
Okay.
Are there any other questions? All right, is there a motion to approve?
Approve item 5.07, memorandum of understanding with Northern Regional Police for 3 years.
Director McKinney moves, is there a second?
Second.
Director Emig seconds the motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Mrs. Almond, please call the vote.
Nine yes.
And the motion carries. Agenda item 5.08, memorandum of understanding with Head Start Community Progress Council. Copy of the MOU is attached. Are there any questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding with the Head Start.
Director Miller moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Director McKinney seconds the motion. Is there any discussion?
I just have one question in regards to the statement. And if feasible, other entities carrying out early childhood development programs. So my question is, do we know of other programs that Head Start would work with that we would utilize?
I don't know any off the top of my head.
Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions? Any further discussion? Hearing none, Mrs. Allen, please call the vote.
Nine yes.
And the motion carries. Okay, agenda item 5.09, the 2024-2025 LIU Fair Share Agreement. Copy of the agreement is attached. Are there any questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve 5.09, LIU Fair Share Agreement.
Director McKinney moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Director Emig seconds the motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Mrs. Almond, please call the vote.
Nine yes.
And the motion carries. Agenda item 5.10, 2024-2025 Language Instruction Educational Program, LIEP, Service Agreement with Lincoln Intermediate Unit, otherwise known as the LIU number 12. Copy of the contract is attached. Are there any questions? Hearing none. Is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion we approve 5.10.
Director Kindig moves. Is there a second?
Second?
Director Emig seconds the motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Mrs. Almond, please call the vote.
Nine yes.
And the motion carries. Next agenda item is agenda item number 5.11, independent contract with Dr. Catherine Geyer. So I'm going to read this one because this is not a standard contract. The work of the Director of Exceptional Children does highly specialize and has significant academic and budget implications for our students and district. Many significant tasks occur at different times of the year, so having Dr. Geyer available throughout the year is imperative. The administration strongly believes that this mentorship with our new Director of Exceptional Children will help to ensure a smooth transition for students, families, teachers, staff, the new director, and the district. The administration plans to write this mentorship into the Title II grant to offset the expense. A copy of the agreement is attached. And the clarification that we received is that the Title II grant, if awarded, will cover the entire expense. Is that correct, Dr. Cartwright?
Yes, it is.
Are there any questions?
I was wondering, when I read this, what the overlap, was there any overlap between hiring the new person and the other person retiring?
Very few days, because the incoming director is an assistant high school principal, so she didn't have a lot of time to take off and come here at the end of the year. So just a few days in the summer.
When will we know when the Title II grant is to be awarded?
It takes a little time. We have to submit it first,
Okay.
but it shouldn't be too long.
We'll know by the end of the summer.
Do we typically win an award of these type of grants?
Every year we do, yes. This is very standard.
Okay, so we have pretty sound assurance that we will receive it and the cost will be covered.
Yes,
correct?
yes, we do.
Okay. What do we typically use the Title II grant for?
We use it for a conference. We use it for staff members. We use it for some staff development and training.
And the Title II grant is awarded by the Pennsylvania Department of Education?
It's through them, but it's the federal government.
Federal government, okay.
Yeah. Dr. Hauk, she spoke to our regional coordinator to ensure that this was something that would be applicable towards the grant.
Excellent, thank you.
I just had a question in regards to the 150 hours and when that begins, when it ends. Like, it's just whenever she's needed to come in.
We have a schedule. I don't have it memorized, but she gave us dates and hours needed for each task.
Okay. Starting
So
this
soon,
summer?
yes.
Okay.
Going through the end of next year, just to get through all the phases of the year.
I gotcha. Thank you.
Is the hourly compensation rate, is that comparable to her previous salary?
No, it's comparable to contracted, outside contract positions.
Are there any other questions? Is there a motion to approve?
I make that motion.
Director Emig moves. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Director Miller seconds the motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Mrs. Almond, please call the vote.
9 yes.
And the motion carries. Agenda item 5.12. This is the appointment of Dr. Catherine Hauk as the interim superintendent. Are there any questions? The contract is attached. This is something I also read the public content part here for those who have not taken the time that are present with us tonight. The board recommends a motion to the appointment of Dr. Catherine Hauk as the interim superintendent effective July 15th at a $150 daily per diem. The board also recommends a motion to provide a $500 stipend per semester to the following individuals to lead programs for Dr. Hauk in the interim: Galen Roop, Federal Title Program; Jody Wickenheiser, the 2024-2025 School Year Induction Program; and Chris Young, the Collaborative Classroom. Are there any questions? Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve 5.12, appointment of Dr. Catherine Hauk as interim superintendent.
Director McKinney moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Director Emig seconds the motion. Is there any discussion?
I just want to say I think this is a wise choice for continuity, and I have full confidence in her. She'll do a good job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? I'd like to also speak in favor of this motion. Dr. Hauk has stepped up and has been very willing to take on the additional responsibility. We are providing, by this motion, providing some help on some key areas that would be occupying a lot of time, but she's going to be serving as the interim superintendent while retaining a good portion of her existing assistant superintendent duties. So it is a fairly steep hill. It's a good opportunity for her to try on the position. It's a great opportunity for the district to maintain continuity and for the board to continue our good working relationship with her. Any further discussion? All right, Mrs. Allman, please call the vote.
Nine yes.
And the motion carries. I'd like to publicly say congratulations to Dr. Hauk. We're looking forward to working with her in this capacity. And it's also our alternative here was to name an interim superintendent, which would be somebody from the outside. So I hope this is received this way as a welcome sign from the staff. I'm seeing some heads shaking in the affirmative there, that to maintain the work, the opportunity to continue to work with somebody that you know is going to continue to move the district in the same good direction that Dr. Cartwright has been moving us along is something that's going to be very good. So it's too bad she's not here tonight, but she's on vacation. She may be receiving the word via text message as far as I know. Let us know if you get a response from her. Mm-hmm. All right, we'll move to our next section. Section number 6, Action Finances. We'll also take up each one of these as individual items since they involve the expenditure of funds. Agenda item 6.01, the purchase of UV light. This is going to be funded by an ARP ESSER funding, and this is for the pool. And there's all the benefits, and the document and the quote are attached to the agenda item. Are there any questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve item 6.01, purchase of UV light.
Director Whitmer moves. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Director Kindig seconds the motion. Is there any discussion?
I do want to make a comment that I'm very happy to see this, and I don't know who suggested or recommended it, but I'm very glad for it because when I picked my daughter up from swimming, I have to crack the window. She smells that strong of chlorine, and she does have sensitive skin. So I think all of these, issues mentioned as a result of chlorine and shocking the pool, are going to benefit so many kids and the little ones that take swim lessons. So I'm glad for this recommendation.
It was Mr. Fluke. It was
Fluke?
Mr. Fluke, yeah.
Good, well, I thank him.
I also will agree with you on that. Chlorine is a tough chemical, and this sounds like it's not going to have health benefits, but it's going to, using the ESSER funding, there's no cost to the district on this, so I'm pretty pleased with the suggestion as well. Any further discussion? Mrs. Almond, please call the vote.
Nine yes.
And the motion carries. Agenda item 6.02, insurance package renewal for July 1st, 2024 through June 30, 2025. Are there any questions?
I do have a question, Mrs. Jacoby. I was thinking about this earlier, I'm sorry I didn't email. In regards to other options out there, I recall before Mrs. Weaver was here that we had the two interim accountants, and they had said that one possible way to save money for the district was to look into some other bargaining units or agreements or something of that nature for insurance. Am I remembering that correctly?
They may have been speaking about medical insurance and insurance benefits, which is
Okay.
different than what you're approving here. I believe this is our workman's comp,
General liability.
general liability.
Okay,
Mhm.
so that's a whole nother animal. All right.
Okay.
Actually, we are in a consortium to some degree with Utica, which is why we're getting 15% back in dividends starting with this fiscal year, because it's been 3 years.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Director Emig moves. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Director Miller seconds the motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Mrs. Almond, please call the vote.
Nine yes.
And the motion carries. Agenda item 6.03 is bills paid report. The check register is attached. I recognize the treasurer for questions that he has received answers to already.
Yep, I had a few questions for Mrs. Weaver, and she answered them very promptly. There was some equipment that I had inquired about from First Ohio. It said industrial robot. She said that was fully covered by grant. There is another piece of equipment ordered from Power Pro Equipment. It ended up being a utility vehicle for the grounds crew because the transmission had failed in the old one. She even sent me some specs on the equipment, which I appreciate. And then there was one other, some boiler maintenance. I had inquired if it was routine maintenance or repair, and it was routine maintenance. I had no further questions for the month.
All right, any questions for the treasurer? Or any questions in general about the report? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Director Emig moves. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Director McKinney seconds the motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Mrs. Allman, please call the vote. There it is.
9 yes.
And the motion carries. Next agenda item is the treasurer's report. Recognize the treasurer.
All right, well, as usual, I've compared to the previous month. Mrs. Weaver, it looked like there was possibly 3 pays in May. The payroll was up, or was there end-of-year bonuses?
We're not for profit, there's no.
Not here.
bonus.
That was the other possibility. The 2008 bond interest payment, I noticed, I didn't ask last month in April, but it was $2.9 million payment in April and only $5,000 in May. Did we make an additional principal pay down on that?
We pay the principal once a year, and that was last month.
Okay, great. And that was it.
All right, any questions from the board? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the treasurer's report, item 6.04.
Very good. Always good to have a motion from the treasurer to
Well,
approve the report.
Director Emick beat me to the bills paid.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Director Emig seconds the motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Mrs. Allman, please call the vote.
Nine yes.
And the motion carries. Agenda item 6.05, school depositories. School depositories, financial institutions are approved yearly by the school board as outlined by PA Code, Section 621. Are there any questions? So for the public, while the board is deliberating, asking questions, the administration recommends to approve the following school depositories for the fiscal year July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025, as required by law. Pennsylvania School District Liquid Asset Fund. There is a way they pronounce the acronym I'm not going to attempt. PSLAF. It sounds like please laugh. Okay, and thank you for that. And also the Members First Federal Credit Union. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve 6.05 school depositories.
Director McKinney moves. Is there a second?
I will second.
Director Kindig seconds the motion. Is there any discussion?
Have we ever examined the rates of competitors or other options?
They actually did several, right before I got here, my predecessor did, and Missy's predecessor did as well. So this is the bank they chose.
That's good.
Okay, so
It's a big deal to change, so we don't want to be
It's a
doing
huge
that often.
deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're not having any problems with either one of these institutions?
No, PSLF is the one who gives us the fantastic rates.
Okay,
That's
great.
where we're earning all of our income from.
Excellent. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Mrs. Allman, please call the vote.
9 yes.
And the motion carries. Agenda item 6.06, the Homestead and Farmstead Resolution for 2024-2025. The homestead and farmstead exclusion process each fiscal year in which a school district imposes a tax authorized under Section 321 or receives a property tax reduction allocation pursuant to Chapter 5, the district shall calculate a homestead and farmstead exclusion for the purpose of reducing school district property taxes. The school district shall adopt a resolution implementing the homestead and farmstead exclusions no later than the last day of the fiscal year, immediately preceding the fiscal year in which the homestead and farmstead exclusion shall take effect. So this must be done this month, and the farmstead homestead exemptions for next year will be, let me scroll down to it. It is $300 and some change. Hold on a second.
That's correct.
$300.46.
300, thank you, 340.46 cents. You have everything just about memorized, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. This is something that I have been looking into because in other states, and in the course of my previous career, I lived in quite a few states. The agricultural exemption in other states is significantly higher than is provided in Pennsylvania. It was thousands in Colorado where I lived before we moved here. When I got here, it was $250.10 or something like that, which was almost a slap in the face for farmers who are trying to make it on their land. And of course, homeowners. The homestead exemption is quite small. It's the same exact amount. The district doesn't have much flexibility, as I had learned, because it's all based on state allocation. So who we need to talk to about getting that increased is our state senate, state representatives. So depending on which district you live in here as a community, either talk to your district representative, Seth Grove, or Dawn Kiefer, or whoever succeeds her in the next election, to try to get that changed. Our farming community, I think, deserves a little bit more than what we're giving them as a state. Personal opinion. Anyway, are there any questions? Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve 6.06 Farmstead Homestead Resolution.
For 2024,
Tongue twister.
2025?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Director McKinney moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Director Whitmer seconds the motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Mrs. Allman, please call the vote.
Nine yes.
And the motion carries. Agenda item 6.07, tax rates and budget approval for the 2024-2025 fiscal year. The budget resolution is attached, as well as the 2020 PDE 2028, which is a form for the 2024-2025 final general budget, fund budget, I'm sorry. Are there any questions? This has quite thoroughly been deliberated over the course of the last 5.5 months. I'm glad we're getting to the end of the road. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the tax rates and budget for 24-25 fiscal year.
Director McKinney moves. Is there a second?
Director Meese, I'll second.
Director Meese seconds the motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Mrs. Allman, please call the vote.
7 yes, 2 no.
And the motion carries. All right. Well, I feel like applauding, actually. So that was a lot of work. I think probably more work than anyone else. We need to recognize the administration. We kind of put them through a lot of Q&A, and they provided reams of answers, and I appreciate it very much. A lot of that went to Mrs. Weaver, but I have to express my appreciation to Dr. Cartwright. She's a leader to the organization, and she sets the tone. Some of the questions, they could have been answered with a lot less detail, but she's very thorough. She has been the entire time she's been here, and as well, Mrs. Weaver is very thorough, so I appreciate that very much.
We're one big team.
Yeah. All right, agenda item 6.08, motion to approve the business office to perform all year-end budget transfers, make necessary revisions to the district fund budget upon the auditor's final adjustments to financial records, and assign fund balance amounts in accordance with the PA School Code and PA Department of Education regulation. So in the agenda item on the website is the abbreviated version of the motion. So the motion will be recorded. If I'm not correct, it will be motion to approve the PA School Code Section 687 GSB 54. Is that how the motion is going to state, or is it going to be that lengthy motion?
It should be the lengthy motion.
The lengthy motion,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions? Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the business office to perform year-end duties in accordance with the PA School Code.
Okay, Director
Truncated
McKinney.
it.
Director McKinney moves to approve agenda item 6.08, even though he didn't state it. Do you intend to, everything that's written down under 6.08, is that what you intend?
I make a motion to approve the business office to perform all year-end budget transfers, make necessary revisions to the district fund budget upon the auditor's final adjustments to the financial records, and assign the fund balance amounts in accordance with the PA School Code and PA Department of Education regulations, period.
I was hoping you would just say yes. Is there a second?
It's on the record.
Very good.
Director Meese, second.
Director Meese seconds the motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Mrs. Almond, please call the vote.
Nine yes.
And the motion carries. All right, section number 7, action, agenda item 7.01, obsolete listing. All of the obsolete items are listed out in detail, and there are, looks like 6 attachments, all in detail. If the public hasn't looked at them, please take the opportunity. Are there any questions? Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Director Emig moves to approve agenda item 7.01. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Director Kindig seconds the motion. Is there any discussion?
The textbooks being disposed of because of condition or because they're obsolete?
It depends which list you're looking at.
Okay,
I'm looking at one of the descriptions that says books are outdated / very old. Some are water damaged.
Okay.
Journey's materials are being replaced with new core reading program, collaborative classroom. Under the lib section, books are outdated, very old. Some are water damaged. Some are being replaced with the new core reading program. Science materials are no longer current.
So are these materials just tossed out? Are they sent to other schools? What happens to like the Journeys books and?
We attempt to sell them to someone who buys textbooks.
Okay.
So I have a question on the Apple depreciation list, on the technology list. These, and I think this would be probably for Mr. Boyd, our Director of Technology. Do all of these go back under our warranty process on Apple computers?
Beyond the warranty process. They're like 2015s, I think, most of those.
15
Okay.
through 18.
So at that time, did we not use the contract or the buyback options?
We did, but we kept those beyond the warranty for like spares or some of those items, and then they got broken beyond the warranty.
Okay.
But anything that's under warranty, we get usually swapped out in the next week or so. But
And so are we able to sell these as well?
those are not, they're beyond.
They're beyond, so these will just go in the trash?
Yeah, we'll recycle them, so we'll get a little bit of value for them, but they're not like resale.
Yeah, there's not that many of them.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. Any other questions? Any further discussion?
I just have one question in regards to the water damage, my curiosity. How did that happen? I mean, was it a storage closet that leaked? Or?
I don't know. I don't have that
Oh,
detail.
Okay.
Some things have simply been around for a very, very long time, and we're cleaning out closets.
Any further discussion? All right. Mrs. Allman, please call the vote.
Nine yes.
And the motion carries. Agenda item 7.02, donation of skid pallets to the CTE Horticulture Program by Amy and Zeb Foth. Are there any questions? Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Director Emig moves. Is there a second?
Director Meese, second.
Director Meese seconds the motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Mrs. Allman, please call the vote.
Nine yes.
And the motion carries. I want to publicly thank the Foths for making this donation. I know the CTE department appreciates that, Mr. Benton. And thank you for whatever your hand was in facilitating that as well. All right, next agenda item 7.03, conference request. Charles Benton, CTE Director, to attend the PACTA, I guess that's how you refer to it, right? The PACTA Leadership Conference in State College, Pennsylvania, July 23rd through 25th, 2024. Are there any questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Director Emig moves. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Dr. Miller seconds the motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Mrs. Allman, please call the vote.
Nine yes.
And the motion carries. Agenda item 7.04, the Dover Area Middle School School Day time changes effective for the 2024-2025 school year, 7:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. There's additional content here that says in previous years it was 7:35 to 2:31. This new start time adds 4 minutes to the student day, which allows us to shorten the student arrival window from 7:15 to 7:35 to 7:15 to 7:30. Change also allows for 4 additional minutes to be built into the school schedule, which are being utilized in the bell schedule for transition between classes. This change in student day does not impact the teacher workday. Are there any questions?
Dr. Cartwright, I imagine EMB and letters will be going out to inform all the parents about the changes, correct?
Yes, Mrs. Huffnagel's been in contact with Mrs. Kohler the whole time. Yes.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? So this puts them, and it's de minimis, but it puts them a couple minutes out from the other schools, is that correct?
Yes, they already are. They have to be staggered.
Okay. All right, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Dr. Emig moves, is there a second?
I'll second.
Dr. Kindig seconds the motion. Is there any discussion?
So the 4 minutes is being added to add maybe an additional minute for each class transition throughout the day?
I can't answer
No.
where the minutes are going.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, Mrs. Allman, please call the vote.
Nine yes.
And the motion carries. Agenda item 7.05 is an agenda item to approve the minutes of the May 14th School Board Planning meeting. There's a link for the minutes. Any questions? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Dr. Emig moves. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Director McKinney seconds the motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Mrs. Allman, please call the vote.
Nine yes.
And the minutes of the May 14th Board Planning meeting are adopted. Agenda item 7.06, minutes of the May 21st, 2024 Board meeting. Mrs. Allman, please prepare to read the minutes.
I make a motion to not read the minutes from now on. They are posted on the webpage. I cannot see reading the minutes.
Director Emig moves to dispense with all reading of minutes. Is there a second?
Yes.
Director Wolverton seconds the motion. Is there any discussion?
Does the policy stipulate we need to read the minutes, or is you just going by parliamentary procedure?
Parliamentary procedure is standard to read the minutes in all organizations.
But when they're posted on the webpage, there's no need to read them.
Any further discussion?
So are we voting on the for not reading the minutes tonight, or are we voting on not reading the minutes in the future?
In the future is what he said.
He said from now on, so that would include tonight.
Yeah, I understand for
Yeah.
tonight. My question is,
It's throughout. It's
Okay.
for every meeting.
I want to make sure I understand the
Yep.
motion.
Okay. So this is not, just to be clear, this is not a motion to approve the minutes. This is a motion to dispense with the reading of these minutes and all future minutes. I speak against the motion because I think this is as we stand right now, we're nearly a $76 million organization. We're expending public funds, and parliamentary procedure says you should read the minutes. And I think it's something that's important for us to do. It's time-consuming, it's tedious, but it should be done. That's my opinion.
Mr. Connolly, just for your reference, it's very standard not to read the minutes. I don't know too many districts that actually do, just as a reference.
Right. Yeah, I have not been to another school district that reads the minutes, and I've been to several meetings with other school districts. And so you're correct. I've never heard the minutes read here except after we took office. The minutes were read for a period of time. In organizations, it's not uncommon for a motion to come up to dispense with the reading of the minutes. And after that takes hold, they tend to stay with that. There's almost always a motion to dispense with the reading.
The federal organizations I've been in, we didn't read them. So.
Any further discussion? So the motion on the board is a motion to approve dispensing reading of all minutes from now forward. Mrs. Zalman, please call the vote. So this is still listed as agenda item 7.06, so you're listing it under that because it's germane to that, but it is not, okay.
It's a separate motion.
It is a separate. Can we change that to like 7.06A?
It may allow me to do that in the minutes. I can't do that.
Okay,
online.
that'll be fine. That'll be fine. So is everyone clear on what we're voting on? Okay,
It will show both motions in the minutes.
okay, excellent. Wait a minute. How do I change my vote? How do I go back and change? Oh, here it is. All right. I clicked too quickly.
Five yes, 4 no.
And the motion carries. So we're back to agenda item 5.06, the minutes of the May 21st, 2024 board meeting. Are there any questions, corrections, or edits? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes of the May 21st board meeting?
So moved.
Director Emig moves. Is there a second?
Reading the minutes.
Motion fails for lack of a second. So I recommend that we carry this forward to the next agenda to approve these minutes. At some point, we'll have to. All right, next item is agenda item, or section 8, discussion items, policies 8.01. Two policies are attached for the second reading. Are there any questions or discussion?
I have two questions for Attorney Pratt. First of all, were you, since you've been the district solicitor, were you or your law firm ever asked to to come up with these two policies. And the second question is, what is your opinion of these two policies by the ILC?
To answer your first question, no. We did not draft these policies. They were drafted by the ILC. And number two, in regard to my opinion, I've given that opinion to the board, and if so desired by the board to go ahead and allow me to breach attorney-client privilege, I will provide that opinion to the community. But right now, it's under attorney-client privilege to go over that opinion that we provided.
Okay, thank you. And just for further let you know that since the ILC has developed these two policies, I will not be supporting any of them because 19 years ago, we were involved in a lawsuit due to them, and they did not tell the truth. So I cannot support policies that came up with the Independent Law Center.
So with all due respect to to the previous speaker, the statement that they were involved 20 years ago is incorrect. The Independent Law Center didn't exist at that time, and the attorneys that work for them now were not involved in the lawsuit at that time. There was an amicus brief that was provided by Attorney Randall Wenger. That amicus brief, anyone, anywhere can write an amicus brief and submit it to the court. It doesn't mean they're involved in the case. Are there any questions concerning the policies?
Mr. Pratt, did you work with the ILC to review the policies? Or did you have no communication with ILC regarding the policies at all? So was it strictly ILC?
Correct. I did have conversations with them.
You did have conversations with
Correct.
them. Did you read over the policies?
Correct.
And did you work with them to make
No.
any changes, or you just read them over for
Correct.
what reason? Knowledge, or?
I was instructed to do so by the board to provide my opinion to the ILC, which I did. And that's, at this point, all I can say in regard to that matter based on attorney-client
I
privilege.
understand. Thank you.
I'm trying to process what I just heard, see how to respond to that. Does anyone else have anything to say? Any questions? I'm going to choose not to make a comment on that.
Just so we're clear, because been in some confusion on these two policies. Is the plan then in the July meeting will be when they're on the agenda and voted on? Is that our plan?
So, go ahead, Dr. Carmen.
Yes, that's what happens after the second reading.
Okay. I just want to make sure I understand what the process is.
Okay. Any other questions?
This is Director Hogan. Director Conley, I had a hard time hearing some of what's going on, so are we not voting on policy tonight?
There's been no motions made, and the counsel of the solicitor is that we go through first reading, second reading, and then the subsequent month, it's on the agenda for approval.
Is that a recommendation, or is that the way that this works? Because I thought it was one reading and then a vote.
Solicitor Pratt, has there not been policies that have been approved on the second reading?
I don't know for sure that answer, the 100%. I'd have to defer to the administration in that regard.
Since January 2023, we've had a first reading 1 month, a second reading the second month in the planning meeting, and a vote at the second meeting of the month.
Okay.
The difference here is that there's one meeting this month.
What is the difference? I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
So what she said is that the second reading occurs at the planning meeting, and because this particular month has no planning meeting, it will occur at the next meeting. And there's no planning meeting in July either, so it will occur at the business meeting in July.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right. Thank you for that clarification, Dr. Cartwright. All right, no further questions? All right, this takes us to section number 9, public comment period. Again, the board uses the public comment period as an opportunity to listen but not to debate issues or enter into a question and answer session with the speaker. Public comment must be germane to school district business. The board values civil, respectful statements and clear and concise communication to help inform its deliberations. Is there anyone seeking the floor for public comment? This will be a 2-minute comment period. The clock will be on the screen to help you.
Good evening, Doug McGurn, 3613 Kimberly Lane, Dover, Pennsylvania. In regards to the policies, this will not stop progress. It'll only put you on the wrong side of history if you decide to vote for these policies, in my opinion. It'll further promote continued bullying and isolation of our students, our staff, who have already suffered enough in their silence. The public has spoken up to you and given you your opinion. In past meetings, you said that the public voted you in for these policies. But what I'm hearing in these meetings is the public is against these policies. If you decide to go forward with voting for these policies, it would validate the article that came out in the York Daily Record this Monday, when the pact that you're meeting within the warehouse it identified in the meeting that the purpose of the pact is to combat diversity, equity, inclusion of the transgender movement. I just want to say to our students, our families, the staff, you're not alone in the community. If you do decide to move forward with these policies, again, there's help within our community. Pastor Cam, again, research shows these aren't choices. These are something that our students or people are born with, and we can't stop it based on policy. I work for the second largest bank in the United States. We have over 41,000 employees and 53 chapters that support the LGBTQ plus community. There's over 30 million members, or the LGBTQ community represents 30 million people. You have baseball teams like the Baltimore Orioles who are celebrating Pride Night. So again, you're not alone, you're loved, and your community supports you.
Thank you, Mr. McGurn. Anyone else? Yeah, if you spoke once, you're entitled to speak twice. This is a 30-minute period. Anybody wants to get up can speak again.
Pat T. Ford, I did sign in, Pat T. Ford. Reviewing your policies as printed on your site, to me, they're common sense, logical. I don't think they're intentional to hurt anybody. My main concern is parents that are not informed of a child taking a new identity, and then the school board, the school district supporting that without informing the parents. And I know there's a legal affairs going on with that, but I'm concerned about parental rights for their children there. Concerned about, and I don't know how, it was just something new that came up here. You had asked the lawyer to give his opinion on the policy, and then there's the client legal agreement there. And yet I see the residents of the school district are also employing him. So, I mean, I know there's technical difficulties with that legally, but I'd like to hear sometimes the legal opinion of our attorney for the district. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tefor.
Sterling Walsh, I signed in. I want to say that bullying is never acceptable in any direction. I don't think that anybody here would want to support bullying here. It happens in all directions. I got it because when I was in school because I was fat. I got it because I was a Christian. I got those kind of things too. And it's like anyone else, and it hurts when a young person gets bullied. And it's never acceptable. Now, there is also no way that we're going to please everyone in the community on this issue. It's like many other things in our society these days. There is a very stark line between two opinions, and to be honest with you, no one's going to be fully satisfied. I understand that, but again, I want to remind us that even though there may not be a large number here speaking, the community voted at the election. The whole community came out to do that, and they did have their opinion. And as to the argument that there's no current transgenders in the sports program, you're not making a decision for just this year. This would be a decision for perpetuity. And so we have to keep those things, those possibilities in mind as we're making these decisions. And so I appeal to the board to remember that it's not only the transgender, say a transgender boy, but all the cis girls that are also within the context of the sports program. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Walsh.
Kara Hetrick, I would like to address a few things that were just said. From what I understand about the lawsuit, because I know you can't really say very much, the difference between the lawsuit that's happening now and future lawsuits is that the district followed the law. So if there is a payment that goes out to that mother, she will be paid by our insurance company, not the taxpayers. If we knowingly break the law and make these policies, which are against the law, whether you like them or not, I understand people have their individual feelings, their religious feelings. I get that. I 100% appreciate everyone has their own opinion. You are knowingly breaking the law. The insurance will not cover this district if we get sued. So I think it's important for the public to realize that. And number two, about the voting. A 28% voter turnout is nothing to really brag about. 28% of this township voted, or Dover voted, and so I can't really say that you have the overwhelming support of the township or the district. It's just the numbers. The numbers don't lie. So facts don't care about your feelings. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hetrick. Anyone else?
Nana Wertz, I would like to just, and I know it's not a question and answer, but if the lawyer cannot tell us because of confidentiality, who would be the one to give him permission to tell us to make the board more transparent? That's my only question.
Thank you, Ms. Wartz. Anyone else seeking the floor?
My name is Gina Myers, and I signed in. I just want to say that I'm one of those voters that voted for the board back in November, and I know a lot of people who voted for the board, so I'm in support of the policies. I think it's good to be proactive and to have policies in place so that everybody knows where where you stand on certain things. And again, you're representing the people who voted you in. So I do support that. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
And
Mrs.
just because we disagree, you know, everybody has different opinions, and just because we disagree doesn't mean we're hateful, because you're entitled to your opinion, and I don't try to push my opinion on you, and I would hope that you would treat me the same and not push your opinion on me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Myers. Anyone else?
Yeah, good evening, Board. My name is, and public. My name is Ben Sorbello. I'm the Associate Pastor at Friendship Community Church. And I've been sitting back there waiting to see if I needed to say something. And, you know, one of the things we all did as a group is we pledged to the flag, and we also committed to one nation under God. So I just kind of scrolled through these I guess, things that we're going to be voting on next. I don't even know the public term, but we're going to be voting on next month. And the main thing I saw is that boys play with boys in sports and girls play with girls in sports, and I don't see a problem with that. And I just want to tell you what's in Luke 21, his book, since we pledged our allegiance to God, one nation under God. It says, "Nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be great earthquakes, famines, and pestilence in various places, and fearful events and great signs from heaven. But before this, they will seize you and persecute you." And Board, you're seeing this now. You're being persecuted for standing on certain truths. And I want you just to stay strong and know that people are behind you and praying for you. And there is only one truth. You can color deception and you can put makeup on it and call it truth, but it's not truth. There's only one truth. And until this nation comes back to that, we're going to have dissension. That's matter of fact. And there's going to be lawsuits, most of them frivolous, but you have to decide to plant your flag somewhere. So I just pray that you plant it so that the kids understand what the real truth is and not made up truth. So God bless you all.
Thank you, Pastor Sabella. Anyone else? All right, public comment period is closed. It's time now, section number 10, comments or observations from the board members. I think we started on this side last time. We'll go to this side. Director Hogan.
I have nothing to report.
Thank you. Director Miller.
Nothing.
Director Emig.
Yeah, I know that I missed the whole month of May, and I wanted to make the statement that I certainly appreciate and wish well all the retirees from the administrations, the staff, for their accomplishments that they did for here, for all the students they helped. We appreciate the service they did, and they certainly make Dover proud. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Emig. Director Kindig.
No, I have no comment tonight.
Director McKinney.
Well, I guess just since we approved the budget tonight, I want to say I'm proud of all of you for your hard work, the administration too. I think got the best budget that we could under the circumstances passed. Extremely happy with no tax increase, and I know a lot of people in the public are too. So well done, everyone. Return.
Thank you, Director McKinney. Director Meese.
Not as lighthearted as the previous comments. Any member of the public that takes issue with either of the two policies, I'd like to request that they make hand notes, or I have not in my inbox received any specific, like you want to talk about facts over feelings. I haven't received any specific points, like pointing directly to a particular sentence or, an exact concern. It's all very general speaking, and I'm very open to hearing specifically what people have issues with, the people that do have issues. I mean, if a policy is 3 pages long, is there anything in there that you might find helpful? Is there common ground anywhere that we can start with instead of just looking at the whole policy? So I would just ask anybody that can hear my voice right now that doesn't agree with the policies you can send it to me, send it to the board. I'm willing to look at what your thoughts and opinions are specifically on a portion, you know what I mean, of the policy, instead of speaking on generalities, especially if we were to be accused of breaking the law by passing a policy, which was insinuated. I'm very curious to know where that is, because obviously, if that was a fact, we have our solicitor sitting here. I don't think any of us on the board would want to break the law, so I'd be curious to know where that comes from. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Meese. Director Whitmer.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about graduation. I thought it was wonderful. It was a great celebration. It came together so nicely. It was a beautiful day, and I want to congratulate all the administration and everybody who pulled that together, pulled it off, and all the kids that graduated. It was really neat to see them be celebrated and received, and it was nice sitting up there seeing that. It was a little weird being on that side of things, you know. And then I just wanted to also thank everybody who comes and support in person and also through email. So just wanted to say that publicly. Thank you to them.
Thank you, Director Whitmer. Director Wolverton.
I'll leave it alone tonight. I'll pass.
Well, I was actually looking forward to it.
Oh, I'll bet you were. No, I'll leave it alone.
All right, thank you. Dr. Cartwright.
No, thank you.
That brings it to me. I have to say the graduation, I was very pleased with how well-run the graduation was. Everything from the way the speeches were conducted and that type of thing to the order of the students. I've seen some raucous graduation ceremonies where people over-celebrate, and it was very respectfully done. The administration of it was I'm using this word twice, but the district administration allowed the students to run the graduation ceremony themselves, and it was quite well run, very efficient, and I was very proud of them. I thought they did a great job. The field looked great, stands looked great, the gowns looked great. It was a beautiful American Day, and it was a proud moment for everyone. And as an opportunity as a public servant, I don't have the credentials that these people in the administration have. Very few do. They're high achievers and well-educated. To have the honor of sitting up there amongst those who are so honored was an honor for me personally, and I appreciate that. So congratulations to all the Dover graduates this year, and for the parents who raised good kids to put them out there and do such a fine job. I thought that was nice. And there was some discussion about the solicitor's role, and I'm not going to speak specifics here as to review of policy and that kind of thing, but I will say this: the role of the solicitor is to keep the district out of trouble, keep us operating according to the law, the regulations. There's a wide gamut. Solicitors got to know a lot of stuff, and so they're to keep us all in check, keep us from driving right off the side of the road, or even worse, right off a cliff. We don't want to do that. So the solicitor is the person who stands up and says, "Ho, don't go there," because we don't want to go somewhere that's going to create harm. We don't want to go somewhere that's going to create unreasonable cost to the district or legal liability, what have you. Certainly don't want to get into the area of breaking the law and violating people's rights. So the solicitor's role is quite broad in that area because arguments get passionate. People get their minds focused on a direction, that's where they want to go, and people are in a transmit-only mode sometimes, not listening. Some people are listening intently but not saying a lot, not advocating. In our policy protocol, we rarely say anything about policy. We're in a listening mode. The policy as it's been presented, you've read it. I trust you've read it, but I fear some may not have actually read it. They look at the heading, they see trigger words, and they make assumptions that we're trying to create harm. And I encourage you to read it very closely. Read the policies very closely, and because some of the statements that have been made, both here and at other meetings, are not accurate according to the policies. So if they're enacted, the school district's going to be expected to operate according to the word of the policy. And toleration for bullying, we have a separate policy on bullying, and it covers everything. So we want to make sure that we're doing the right things for the right reasons, and that we're taking into consideration all the legal ramifications and all of the other impacts as well. And I can assure you we are. I've been sitting here debating this, on making this statement. I know there's been a lot of allegations against the board members that we're unloving, uncaring, that we have it out for certain people. I can tell you this, that those who have spoken, those who have advocated, I felt absolutely no ill will towards. In particular, the students who have had the courage to come out and speak and advocate on behalf of their perspective. I have love in my heart and compassion, and I don't use that word lightly. I have a love in my heart and compassion for the students, regardless of what their creed is, regardless of what their choices are, or their presentations or expressions and that kind of thing. That doesn't mean love is different than happiness. Love is different than approval, so to speak. But I do have love and compassion in my heart. And for the student that spoke tonight, I feel that way about them as well. And I think that's what we want to be doing as a community. We want to be that way. We don't want to cause harm, but we also want to make sure that the district doesn't get into a liability situation. We don't want to propagate things that could cause harm to students. And so I think we've taken a very level-headed approach to this, very unemotional. I've not talked to any board member throughout this debate anywhere, on the phone, where we meet them in person, what have you. I've never heard anybody have any type of emotion that would be negative emotion towards the students whatsoever, regardless. And I can state that without any backing down whatsoever. So I know we're in a difference of opinion on some things, but we continue to listen. We will do what we feel is best for the district. We were elected to protect the district. We're elected to act on behalf of the students, on the administration, to put them in the best position across the board for success. And that is our pursuit. As far as some of the statements that have been made in a disparaging manner towards pastors in the community, I can not point you to any finer people than the people that have spoken to us tonight. I don't agree with everyone's position, but they are fine people, no question about it. And they're courageous. And I know the labeling of people as Christian as if it's a derogatory thing It's being made by people that attend church themselves. I don't understand that. And it's in this country that we've gotten to that point that we're making derogatory statements towards people of faith. I didn't think that's the kind of country that we're in. I don't want it to be Dover. Dover's our country, and I don't want Dover to be disparaging towards the religious community either. And they have just as much right to speak in public and voice their opinions as anyone else does. And I mean anyone else. There's no filters on who can come here other than the requirements that you must fulfill to be able to speak in public, which they're a written policy. So having said that, I will just finish with thanking once again the board for the hard work and the administration, which I've already stated throughout this budget process. It has been a lot of hours into this, and I appreciate the effort, and I also appreciate, as Director McKinney said, the fact that we didn't raise taxes. I think that means a lot to a lot of people, especially in a time frame where we're being impacted by inflation, and the dollar doesn't go as far as it used to go, and just go to the grocery store and you find that out real quick. But that's all I have to say tonight. That brings us to the end of our state of the agenda. Are there any other comments from anyone? All right, our future meeting announcements. Our next meeting will be in July, and I'm looking for the date.
16th.
July 16th. Thank you very much, Director Amick. July 16th is our next meeting. We will have no planning meeting next month. And I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Director Amick moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Director Whitmer seconds the motion. Is there any opposition?